Welcome to Divine Love Talk with Dr. Parthenia Grant, where we talk about health, well-being, and the love of the divine that exists in all of us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
Okay, this morning, the title of the show is Let the Healing Begin with Us. As a psychologist, I know very well the importance of dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome. If you look at whether it's slavery, war, discrimination, violence, betrayal, poverty, lack of education, any of these things can have a traumatic impact on the psyche of society and individuals. And if we don't address that trauma, we cannot heal. So this morning, my special guest is spoken word artist Savannah Hartman, who also leads her own congregation in Florida. And she did this amazing poem that went viral after the shooting, a recent shooting of another African-American man. I believe, Savannah, this was the one in front of the man's wife and child. Is that correct, Savannah?
No. This is about Alton's killing. That happened the day before Philandro Castile, which was the man in front of his fiance and child.
Oh, that's the same one I was talking about, in front of the, I thought it was his wife and child. Yeah, so we're talking about the same one. Yeah, I think that one traumatized America, just watching it. And my daughter found your video and brought it to me while I was already trying to deal with the trauma and shock of yet another brutal shooting that was really unnecessary. So I'm going to have Savannah share live on air her amazing poem and also your incredible call to action at the end. But let me just start out with a couple of statistics. In 2015, here in America, there were 1,134 Americans who died as a result of police shootings. Now, as of July, and this was just a couple of days ago, we already have 599 police deaths. So we're pretty much halfway into the year, and it looks like that number could go into 1,200 if we don't address this. And I think that your poem addresses it beautifully. I also have online, they're going to be joining in on the discussion, Brenda Banda, who is the co-founder and director of Urban Theater Movement. She is also an amazing, spiritually evolved indigenous woman whose wisdom I think is very, very vital for all of America to hear. And Brenda, are you there?
Yes, I am so honored to be here again. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I have my youth correspondent, Morgan Christopher, who is originally from Dallas, has a master's in marketing, and she's been looking at all of this, everything that's happening around the world and the way it's being reported in the media as a form of branding, a form of marketing, which we'll talk about that a little bit. Morgan, are you on the line? Is Morgan there yet? Okay, well, we will have her later. Okay, so Savannah, let's turn this over to you and give us a little bit more about your background. You can set up the poem and then just go right into it, because I think it's amazing to have you do it live on air.
Perfect. Okay, well, also, thank you so much for having me. I don't know if I was on the call yet when you heard that, but thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity and all that you're doing. But my husband and I, we are church planners. We just started a church in Tampa, Florida a few months ago. We moved here from our hometown in North Florida. And we're just very passionate about social justice, about civil rights, about equality. Those are things very important to us as a family and that we really value. And so when we heard the news about Alton Sterling, I was upset by it. I was sickened by it. And, you can only turn a blind eye to injustice for so long before you feel called to action. And I sat down at my computer. My children were taking a nap. My husband was running some errands, and I just, poured it out on the page. And about 15 minutes later, it was done. And I felt like God really had something that He wanted to say, and I was thankful that He used me to be a vessel and say it. Um, and overwhelmingly, it's had a really incredible response. I'd say it's been about 85% positive. People from both sides of the communities, white community and the black community, have really joined together in love, and found that it was a message that they could rally behind, and it's really helped spur some tough conversations. And so it's been such a blessing. So I'm super excited to share that with you guys, and I'll go ahead and start now.
All right. Thank you.
I can't imagine what it's like to be born with skin that's black, not white. I wasn't born rich, but don't get it twisted. See how I look. My white skin is my privilege. I don't get watched when I go to the mall. If I get stopped for a ticket, it doesn't end in a brawl. I don't know what it's like to go out for snacks and end up lying dead on my back. My car's never been watched or followed around. My kids don't play in parks and then get gunned down. I don't know anyone murdered for selling cigs or CDs. I've never been choked out or shot at by corrupt men in PDs. So I won't pretend like I know how you feel, but I have something to say that's true and that's real. And that's that I'm sorry for how we've behaved, starting the moment that you were enslaved, since we came in our boats and shackled your hands and shipped you back here to work on our land. I'm sorry for scars you bore then and bear now, because of the wounds we have caused or allowed. To black women, I'm sorry that we've made you a commodity, use your bodies and secrets like a back alley hobby. I'm sorry your kids watched while you were mistreated. I'm sorry your husbands have been broken and beaten. To black children, I'm sorry that we've made you believe that you were worth less and you couldn't achieve the same heights as the white kids that are in the same class, because you are so smart and you are not trash. To black men, I weep because my heart breaks for you. The mass has been judged for the acts of a few. You've done the best with the hand you've been given. White people, don't leave, don't exit out. Please just listen. I know it's uncomfortable, but you must hear me out. This really is something that we must talk about. I know the history, don't say it's not true. The past doesn't disappear when it's offensive to you. White Americans would say we're not all the same. Don't lump us together. I have my own name. And that's true. I get it. Not everyone is. But to say race isn't an issue perpetuates myth. To you, I would say that blacks aren't either. Please open your eyes and be a perceiver, because if you would just look and be honest right now, you'd see that their mistreatment is what we've allowed. We act like they're poor and less than and gross. We make fun of their hair and their skin and their clothes. We reject them as people, but their culture we keep, like their music and dance moves, their style and weaves. Don't blame the media or call me mean names, and don't act like what I say is just for internet fame. This stuff is fact. Blacks have been oppressed. Cops manage every day to disarm white guys without death. Just being shady shouldn't cost men their lives. They were doing all they knew to provide for their wives. And this is where you say that not all cops are bad. If you've not exited out, I know you're boiling mad. And you're right, the majority of cops aren't corrupt. But that logic won't stop me, and I will not be hushed. We must speak for the voices who don't have their own, who went out one day and then never came home. Like Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, or Miss Sandra Bland, not a single one of them held a weapon in hand. And still they were killed, and no justice was served. They won't get to speak, their voices will not be heard, because they are dead and buried in dirt. Their families are broken, their deaths were absurd. Say that I'm wrong and I don't know their stories. You want more names? I can name at least 40. I don't want your excuses or your religious bicker. It wasn't Satan who pulled the cop's trigger. I'm not against cops, so don't make this about that. These aren't opinions, these are black and white facts. This isn't about black men or white women or cops. It's about senseless behavior that on all sides must stop. Whites aren't all racist and blacks aren't all thugs. All our lives matter. We were all bought with love. To move forward from here, we all need to change. Behaviors accepted, futures rearranged. Stop blaming them like their deaths were deserved. We all deserve death, but our lives were preserved by Christ's work on the cross. He paid for our sins so we don't have to make mistakes again and again. Don't scream and don't fight. Start walking in love. Take the masks off our eyes and remove our kid gloves. We can't change the past, but we can change what's ahead. We can change who we are so less people are dead. With accountability for our actions and a voice for our cause, we can form new statutes and create new laws. We can set things in motion and have tough conversations. We can change the future for the rest of our nation. It only takes one person to stand up and say, I won't stand for this. This is not the way. So I'm not sorry for this. It is how it must be. I will be changed. Change starts with me.
And now give that beautiful call to action. I know that it was spontaneous, but I think that that was equally as powerful as the poem.
Just that, as a member of the white community, there are things that we have to apologize for. There is change that we have to exhibit in ourselves, and we have to be better. One thing I said over and over was that we have to be better. We have to do better. That it doesn't make us, anti-cop or anti-white or anti-black to see injustice, because every life is valuable, and together we have to start seeing the value of a human life if we want to see change come forward. We have to start seeing that Christ's blood bought all blood, regardless of the skin that houses it. And together, if we will begin to acknowledge that every life is valuable, if we'll begin to acknowledge and address when injustice occurs, and if we will do better at saying, maybe I didn't have a direct hand in this, but I recognize that there's a problem, and I want to do my part to help change it, that we will begin to see the change that we are so desperate for. We'll begin to see social justice happen. We will begin to see systemic racism die, because all we have to do is do better, and do better by seeing people as valuable as they are, and not labeling them and classifying them because of their race or their gender or their lifestyle or, their creed or color or whatever it may be. To do better, we must begin to start with ourselves and say, do I value every life? If I'm a person of faith, if I'm a Christian, if I believe in Christ and his work on the cross, do I believe that every life was worthy of the price that he paid for it? And if I do, then I will do better, and I will be better, because I have to hold myself to the same standard of the value of that life.
Wow.
And so that's just what I encourage people to do, we have to do better, and we have to see the value of a life despite the skin that houses it.
Wow. And, I would just like to add to that, and I know you're including it, is Muslim lives matter,
Mm-hmm.
Buddhist lives matter.
Yes, all lives.
Every creed, because so many tools have been used to divide people. When you go back to the Willie Lynch letter, which was really teaching the slave owners how to make a slave, the way that you do it is through divide and conquer. And, of course, race, you've got racism, sexism, classism, and nationalism, which are the four pillars that keep the entire planet divided. And until we can see that these are tools that are being used by the people in power to enslave us, to literally follow their agenda, whatever that might be, then we can't address it. And as you said, until we actually deal with the psychological wounds and take responsibility for the part that we played in this, we cannot heal. So let the healing begin with us. We will discuss your poem with Brenda Banda and Morgan Christopher on the line. So please hold on after commercial break. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I am your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant on CRN, and we will be back with more of Savannah Hartman after commercial break. Savannah, did you give that poem a name?
I didn't.
That's okay. Well, we'll be back with more of Savannah Hartman, Brenda Banda, and Morgan Christopher after commercial break.
You're experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain from a sports injury. If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com, 310-873-4422.
Attention, this important consumer alert is brought to you by CBC Funding. Hey, did you know it's possible to receive upfront money from your structured settlement, annuity, or pending lawsuit? It's true. If you are receiving a structured settlement spread out over time and you want a lump sum amount delivered immediately, then you need to call CBC Funding. With your cash today, you can pay off credit card debt, pay medical bills, fund your education, or improve your home. You don't need to wait. Structured settlements are commonly used to resolve personal injury lawsuits. Annuities, they're designed to spread payments out over 10 or 20 years. For many of you in need of money today, this simply does not work. If you have a structured settlement and you want cash now, call CBC Settlement Funding. Here's the number: 800-303-4607, 800-303-4607, 800-303-4607.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante in Fullerton, California for authentic family-style Italian dinners. Come to Angelo's and Vinci's and celebrate your party or event in one of our festive banquet rooms. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 550 North Harbor Boulevard. Named the Orange County Hot List Top 5 Italian restaurant for 7 years in a row. And a Top 10 pizza restaurant by Gale, featuring traditional and award-winning pizzas. Offering Sunday champagne brunch from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., just $16.95. Choose from over 20 items, plus create your own personal omelet. Delicious lunches, including our express lunch buffet, $8.95 with over 15 items. And dinner 7 days a week. Getting married? Angelo's and Vinci's won this year's Wedding Wire Couples Choice Award. You can talk to our experienced staff of wedding coordinators. We treat you as guests at your own wedding reception. It's all at Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Call 714-879-4022. 714-879-4022.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk and reactions to Savannah Hartman's heartfelt plea and spoken word poem. Brenda, are you online?
I am.
Okay, I'd like to get your reaction to that piece.
Well, I watched it, a few weeks ago on Facebook, and now again here, and then I had watched it again some other time, and I had shown it to some friends. My favorite part of it is at the end where Savannah says, change starts with me. Mm-hmm. It's so beautiful to go down the list of everything that is happening, and then at the end to say, it starts with me, because really, like, that's where I come from. My train of thinking is like, you can't change people. You cannot convince them that they are wrong and that you are right. You cannot live for them, think for them, and hope. And the only thing that can happen is an individual will realize that they need a change in order to see the change. I mean, it's what Gandhi has said, and when you get to that understanding, you really see that the truth is simple. And you know what? I want to say something even bigger than that. I want to say that unless you are a billionaire or an elite, we're on the same boat, people. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're purple, green, yellow. If you are not a billionaire and an elite, and if you're not part of a family that has been wealthy for years, for hundreds of years, then guess what? You may have a little bit more privilege than the next person, but you are cared just amount. These people care for you just the same amount. Our civil liberties are being taken. Mm-hmm. Any of us can die in quotations. Terrorist attack. These, just like you said, these divisions are not real. We are on the same boat, and we need to act appropriately. And my favorite part of the extra, the poem that I saw with Savannah, was at the end. your prayer, Savannah, was so beautiful and heartfelt and so real. And, that intention, I felt it the most. I was like, wow. Made me close my eyes and I was praying with you.
Yeah.
And that was very powerful. So thank you for that.
Well, Morgan, I'd like to bring you in. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. I know you were really excited about Savannah being on the show.
I am. I everything that you said is just, it's so prolific, and was so needed at that time. And, clearly, God was speaking through you, and it's just everything you say, just, your emotion, just the rawness and sincerity leaps off the screen. I've cried every time I've watched it, and I've watched it several times.
Absolutely.
It's so thank you first of all for just putting that into the universe.
And Savannah,
thank you so much.
Savannah, I want to say that, what you did was so needed at this time. I was thinking about, the fact that you're a white young female from the South. I'm from Texas. And the South is systemic with racism. It's all over the country. But, to have a white female from the South speak out and say, these really tough truths that need to be heard. What I want to hear from you is that other 15%, because I just couldn't see. You addressed everything. I was just like, how can anybody say anything against what she's saying? The truth is the truth. But what could anybody possibly say to something that was so divine?
I think it was said at the RNC.
It was what?
I think it was said at the RNC this past week, the other 15%.
Oh. Well, probably. But Savannah, I'd like to get a comment from you.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was the majority of kind of the negativity and the backlash came from people that assumed that we were anti-cop. And what we really tried to explain to people was that you can stand for something.
Thank you.
Without being against something.
Exactly.
So I was standing for injustice.
Yes.
I wasn't standing against cops. And in the same way that I talked about in the poem, that I was heartbroken because the acts of a few members of the Black community have caused the entire bunch to be judged.
Exactly.
The acts of a few in the police community, in the justice system, have caused the mass to be judged. And I wasn't talking about them. I'm talking about the bad apples, and it's okay to talk about the bad apples.
Absolutely.
It is okay. It's okay to have a tough conversation, and I can stand against injustice, and I can stand against systemic racism without standing against people. I'm pro-human. That's why I stood up, because I am pro-human.
And that's so important, Savannah. We're going to continue that part of the discussion after commercial break, because I think it's very important for people not to be afraid to speak out because they fear being accused of the very opposite of what they're standing for. That's a very old tactic. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant. That was Savannah Hartman and Brenda Bonda and Morgan Christopher. More of Divine Love Talk on CRN after commercial break.
CRN listeners, when you come to Southern California, stop by a great restaurant, the Dresden Restaurant at 1760 North Vermont Avenue in Hollywood. Enjoy great entertainment, like the music of the legendary Marty and Elaine at the world-famous Dresden Restaurant. The Dresden was a location for the making of the movie Swingers. Now you can swing with stars Marty and Elaine. Plus, enjoy great food, too, like French onion soup, artichoke hearts, and many other great appetizers. Seafood, there's salmon, shrimp scampi, New Zealand orange roughy, halibut, Lake Superior whitefish, and specialties like veal marsala, piccata, and parmigiana. Plus, we've got a great roast rack of lamb, chicken piccata, and cordon bleu, and pasta dishes, too. Steaks, filet, New York, Chateaubriand for two. Much more, too, including pork chops, prime rib of beef, and an incredibly extra large cut of prime rib. It's the Dresden Restaurant, open for lunch Monday through Saturday and dinner Monday through Sunday. Check us out at 1760 North Vermont Avenue or call 323-665-4294.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. With one phone call, you'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information. It's a free service, so call now.
Call now, 800-704-6182, 800-704-6182.
The smartest way for you to get the lowest prices on your plane tickets, domestic or international, is to call SmartFares first or last, but you've got to call us before you book your plane tickets. Fly anywhere in the world, fly anywhere in the U.S., and SmartFares can save you up to 75% on your plane tickets. We have the lowest airline ticket prices on over 500 airlines, and you've got a great 12-hour free cancellation window. Plus, with our live agent help, you can always get fast help and fast answers. So on your next trip, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, how about right now? Pick up your phone and call SmartFares, plus save up to 75% on your plane reservation. So call right now. 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644, 800-915-2644.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-785-9618. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Is your business paying too much for your water? Pure Water Technology provides the world's best, fully monitored, self-cleaning, bottle-less water purification coolers for your employee drinking water. That's right, I said bottle-less. Because Pure Water Technology can provide you and your employees with a much healthier and cost-efficient alternative than what you're currently using. And we provide free trials. Pure Water Technology has technology unlike any other company. And you can save an average office over 6,000 gallons of water annually. So you can do your part for our California drought, save water, at the same time have happier, healthier employees. We use new reverse osmosis technology. It's available only through Pure Water Technology. No one else has this system. And we save water too. Log on to ditchthebottle.com or call 888-790-7873 for free information and your free trial. 888-790-7873. Call now.
Okay, we're back with more Divine Love Talk. And Savannah Hartman, we were, before we went into commercial break, we were going into the courage to actually speak the truth when you know that there are people who are going to stand strongly against the truth. So, Savannah, I'd like to open back up because you got cut off as we were going into that. And what I noticed is there was an African-American female police officer who did a really tough video that streamed live on Facebook that went viral. And she made a tough call in terms of having police officers be accountable to each other, to hold each other accountable for racism. And that's the same, message that you're saying is that, whites have to be accountable for the part that they have played. That's the same message that Martin Luther King had in the letter from the Birmingham jail to the ministers, where he was saying, you have to speak out. You can't say that your silence is literally giving consent. So I'd like to discuss more of that in this section about silence giving consent.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of the reason why I put the poem up in the first place, and why I feel like God really stirred me to write it, because I think a lot of us have kind of that bystander effect. I don't have to say anything because someone else will, but then no one else does because they're thinking the same thing as you. And so then what happens is this mindset gets perpetuated that, racism isn't an issue. That, this isn't a problem anymore. No one's even talking about it. If it was an issue, someone would say something about it, or people only have something to say when something goes wrong,
Yeah.
or something happens, when in reality, it's an issue that everyone is seeing very present in both sides of the community. Just no one felt the courage or the opportunity, or maybe had the platform to stand up and say, well, I'm going to say something about this. And I think people, even if you only have, a platform of 200 or 300, or if you have a platform of 2 or 3 million, you need to use your voice to bring light and to have tough conversations, even if it's not something that you agree with. I was listening to an interview today, and there was a comment in it about conversation is not advocation. And so you can talk about something that you don't believe in just to make sure that it gets brought to the table to be addressed.
Exactly.
And so I think even if perhaps there's someone listening that doesn't agree with my take on it, share your take.
Yeah.
Even if I don't agree with it, the way that we get through this stuff, the way that we grow past it, and the way that we deal with this so that our children and their children don't have to deal with it is by talking about it.
Yes.
Because, silence is never going to get anything done.
No, it gives consent.
Yeah.
Brenda, I could tell you're racing to say something.
Well, I love the accountability of any person and any people, and just the thing that stuck with me is people saying that being pro Black Lives Matter is being against cops, and it's not. But I hope that people know and are aware of the many outspoken police officers that have come out and have spoken on the racism that exists within the police department, how afraid people are of speaking up, that when you do speak up, you do get fired, you do get reprimanded.
Oh, true.
I mean, wasn't Christopher Dorner one of those people that was tired of it, and that's why he went and said what he did? And,
Went off,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
Because he tried, to bring it to justice, and there was none, and he just went off.
Yes, and I also recently, I don't know if it was like a Dateline episode, or I don't know, there were like 10 police officers, I think this was New York City, who banded together to kind of be outspoken about this and say, these things are happening, we are speaking, listen to us. And then recently in New York City, Michael Birch, who was a police officer, recorded his chief pressuring him to target Black men.
Wow.
He said out of 54 citations that you wrote, only 2 were Black, only 2 were something about, he didn't even say Black, he said something about he asked them, who are the people who commit the most crimes, and was kind of forcing the police officer to say Black men.
Yeah.
How many Black men did you give citations to? 2.
Wow.
Why? And he's like, because I wasn't looking for Black men. I was looking for people who were going against the law.
Exactly.
He wanted him to target that. So I love this conversation. I love the being open and saying, yes, we have to support this, we have to support that. But let's open up the possibility that life is not perfect, that police officers are not gods, and they are not, all spiritual beings, and that some of them might, they have a gun, and maybe they're not all right in the head. Maybe they don't believe that everybody matters. Maybe if you know what I'm saying.
Well, you think?
People really need to just, say, hey, what if? And when you say what if, you open up your brain to possibilities that may scare you, but you enter a realm that you have to start thinking.
Yeah,
you really
exactly.
have to start thinking. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, well, Morgan, I could hear you.
Yes, absolutely. What's really, I think, disheartening is for every, cop that comes forward and says, here's what I've been ordered to do, or, here's my, like Savannah's done, here's perhaps, my own accountability that I'm taking, systemic issues that I wasn't even aware of. For every cop that comes forward and does that, what's really sad is that I think on a grander level, we've seen the continued undermining of this movement.
Yeah.
And that was especially prevalent at the RNC, which I wanted to watch because to me, it's like watching, I was an athlete, and to me, it's like watching, game tape of your opponent.
Yeah.
And so I need to know what's being said. I need to know what's being done on the other side. But one thing that was thematic throughout the entire event was having, formidable, respected Black leaders in the community come in and say, this isn't a problem. This isn't an issue. Black Lives Matter is out of control. They're thrusting us into a state of anarchy. And obviously, if you have, leaders of color coming forward saying, no, I don't believe in this at all, of course. I mean, that is the pinnacle of being able to undermine what the movement is really about. And obviously, there are people on that side that need to calm down, need to not, bring us into further chaos. There are bad seeds everywhere. But generally, what the movement is about, to have people come in and undermine it who obviously represent, at least physically, the issues that we're talking about, it's especially disheartening.
Well, that's
it validates, those people who say, see, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And that was really the biggest theme I saw all week. And the continued, race baiting and clearly trying to push us into a race war, not just whites against blacks, but blacks against blacks, or Hispanics against Hispanics.
Yeah. Well, and that again, that's the whole ideology behind the Willie Lynch letter, is to create divisiveness and distrust among people. And to take us off the point, like Savannah, your poem is on point, and that's where the discussion needs to stay. And I know, and these diversionary tactics and this denial. Whenever I get into those kind of discussions, I just say, okay, that's not relevant. That's not the point. So can we get back on point? And then that's the only way. Like for me as a professor of critical thinking, when I would have these people that were just diversionary and in denial, I would just say, okay, well, can we take it back to the point? And I think if people can learn to do that and stay on point, you'll understand that's called a red herring, in rhetorical terms. It's designed to divert you off the point. And so what I love about having this forum at CRN is we can stay on point. So, so Savannah, I want to pull you back in, and I want to say that whenever there is someone speaks out like the police officers, it is punitive, so there is a lot of fear, and it takes a lot of courage for people to speak out. And we need to rally behind those courageous people like Savannah and those police officers that are speaking out and saying, they should not be punished. You're not punishing the ones that are killing people, that are unarmed and that are innocent. So why are you punishing people that are speaking out? And that's where the support needs to be. So Savannah, I'd like for you to address that.
I think that you can find any to support what you believe in, whether it's good or not good, like what Megan said. You can find anyone to be against anything. People like controversy. And I really think, not to super spiritualize it, but I really think a way to keep people on point and to get people to focus on the correct part of the issue and the correct parts of the movement is that they've got to address the heart behind it, what is at the very center of the movement. And that is that from every community, Black community, white community, I think every person is kind of ingrained with a desire for justice, ingrained with a desire for worth. And I think a way to keep people on point is to stop focusing on the outward actions. For instance, when you're sick and you go to the doctor, the doctor doesn't say, I'm going to treat all 17 of your symptoms. He says, I'm going to treat your sickness, and the symptoms will take care of the symptoms. And so I think what we need to do is keeping people on point. We need to continue to focus on the heart of the matter. The very core of it. And point people back to the core, not point people to, a rogue officer, not point people to a rogue member of the Black Lives Matter movement, but what is the heart of it, and address the center issue. Then when the center issue is taken care of, the symptoms won't exist anymore.
Brilliant.
And so I think that's what we really need to focus on, is what is at the center of it, what's at the heart of it, the base of it. And kind of my point in doing the poem was some of the negative comments we received were that, because I addressed slavery, why are you apologizing for something that happened, 300 years ago before you were ever born? But, I don't think people realize it was a needed apology.
Thank you.
If people felt like they had been apologized before, and I've looked and correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't find a place where at a national or a political level that there's ever been an apology,
Hello?
a true, genuine apology issued.
Hello, and it is necessary for people to heal. That's where forgiveness begins.
Exactly, and that was the heart of it, is that, did I own slaves? Do I own slaves? No. I don't even know that any of my family owned slaves. But as a person who sees hurt in another person, I can say, I see the heart of this, is that you just want, you want forgiveness. You want to offer forgiveness. You want forgiveness issued to you. And so I'm sorry. As a person, I hurt with you. And so we're going to look at the heart of this and say, whether I played a direct role in it or not, I'm going to fix it by saying what you need to hear, and that's that I'm sorry.
Yes, and I want to honor you for saying that truth, Savannah, because that was what struck me about your piece that was so original, is that I had never seen an apology. When you look at the Armenian genocide, these people are still suffering, trying to get recognition for what they suffered, and all they want is an acknowledgement, an apology. They can't get it. And so they can't heal. And I have so many Armenian students who cannot heal because they want that, acknowledgement of what happened to them. So what you did was so important, Savannah. It was historic. It was monumental, because I haven't seen it either. No one has apologized about the genocide of the Native American people, and no reparations have been made for them or for African Americans in this country. In Canada, they have paid reparations, interestingly enough. I had a chief on last year who was talking about that.
But I think there's some worry that if you apologize, and this is what kind of has been bothersome to me, that if you apologize, you're acknowledging wrongdoing, and nobody likes to admit wrongdoing. And so, I think,
can you turn her up?
National level. Oh, can you hear me?
Hello? Savannah,
Hello?
Can you say that again?
I was saying, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying that I think that the reason up until now at a national and political level that there has been no apology is because there's kind of this, don't talk about it. Mm-hmm. Like at a dysfunctional family Thanksgiving, don't talk about it. And if you say sorry, you're admitting wrongdoing. Yeah. And so almost if we don't say sorry, we don't have to acknowledge that it was ever a thing. Exactly. But we have to understand what this country was, the lives that this country was built on. Mm-hmm. And it is a thing. And so I think it does more justice to say there was wrongdoing, so let's just acknowledge it and go forward. There was wrongdoing. And so by ignoring it, like I say in the poem, the past doesn't disappear because it offends you. Yeah. You have to acknowledge it regardless of if you think it was accurate or true or historical, whatever. Is an apology really going to kill you? No. Is it going to hurt you that bad? You can just do it. And I think we need to walk in love and forgiveness first. Yeah. And then criticize way down the line.
Exactly. But that is the most cogent point ever, is for me as a psychologist, when you're looking at the cycle of abuse, there is this conspiracy of silence. And until you feel free to talk about it, and unless the other person acknowledges their part in it, then the healing cannot begin. And so it's so important for us as Americans to be able to have these kind of discussions and to say, yes, sincere apologies are needed. We need people to, in positions of authority and power, to step up. You did it, Savannah. Now we need other people to do the same thing. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I am your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant. That was Savannah Hartman, Brenda Bonda, and Morgan Christopher on the line. We'll be wrapping this up after commercial break.
experience a luxury boutique hotel escape in the heart of Laguna Beach, California, with the finest art gallery, shopping, dining, and nightlife just steps from your door. The heart of Laguna Beach, the edge of the sea. It's the Inn at Laguna Beach. Enjoy our comfortable rooms, blending the style of a timeless beach bungalow with the modern comforts of today. 70 newly appointed guest rooms and suites await you at the Inn at Laguna Beach. Then, relax at the rooftop bar, where you'll indulge in breathtaking views of the ocean. For dining, you'll find libations and local cuisine on the California coastline, including dining at the legendary Las Brisas, a Southern California landmark. The Inn at Laguna Beach, footsteps from room to village to sea, located in the heart of Laguna Beach. The Inn is within walking distance of all that Laguna Beach has to offer. No car required. The Inn at Laguna Beach, 211 North Coast Highway in Laguna Beach, California. Call 800-544-4479 or visit inatlagunabeach.com.
This is Larry Minetti for Herpanacin, the acne medication that really works from the inside out. If you suffer from skin problems, Herpanacin is the most unique and effective formula on the market. It cleans your skin from the inside out and gets rid of all kinds of acne and blemishes on your back, neck, and your face. It works so well, you can look and feel like a movie star. Herpanacin, a natural supplement created by Dr. Wayne Diamond. You take a pill, and that's it. I've been on these supplements, and they really work, folks. Don't be afraid to look in the mirror ever again. Get Herpanacin today. Call 888-467-4200. That's 888-467-4200. Herpanacin, it really works. 888-467-4200. Tell them Larry Minetti told you to call and look and feel like $1 million with Herpanacin. Call 888-467-4200.
Come to Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante in Fullerton, California for authentic family-style Italian dinners. Come to Angelo's and Vinci's and celebrate your party or event in one of our festive banquet rooms. Angelo's and Vinci's, Fullerton, California, 550 North Harbor Boulevard. Named the Orange County Hot List Top 5 Italian restaurant for 7 years in a row. And a Top 10 pizza restaurant by Gale, featuring traditional and award-winning pizzas. Offering Sunday champagne brunch from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., just $16.95. Choose from over 20 items, plus create your own personal omelet. Delicious lunches, including our express lunch buffet, $8.95 with over 15 items. And dinner 7 days a week. Getting married? Angelo's and Vinci's won this year's Wedding Wire Couples Choice Award. You can talk to our experienced staff of wedding coordinators. We treat you as guests at your own wedding reception. It's all at Angelo's and Vinci's Restaurante at 550 North Harbor Boulevard in Fullerton, California. Call 714-879-4022. 714-879-4022.
Okay, we're back with our discussion about healing beginning now with accountability. And I'm going to pass off. Each one of you will have basically 60 seconds with your closing remark. And what I'm going to close with is the fact that you will encounter opposition when you stand for the truth, but it needs to be spoken, and each of us has to find the courage to say, it's okay for me to be accused wrongly for speaking the truth, but at least I spoke it. So, Savannah, I'm going to turn it over to you. 60 seconds. What do you want to leave the audience with?
I actually just want to pray real quick.
Thank you.
Wrap it up. Father God, I thank you so much, God, for people who are standing for justice, God. I thank you that you're a just God. God, I thank you that you stand with us, God, when we stand for truth. So I pray that each person listening, God, that you would come up underneath their arms, God, and you would strengthen them to be bold, to speak out, God, to walk in love and to live generously, God, and to see their city and their nation changed, God, the world changed, God, because we love first and love generously. Thank you for your help with that. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Brenda.
Well, I will follow that with my prayer to say that we all find healing, that one day maybe there will be an apology. But just like in my personal life, I had to let go of the idea of people in my life apologizing, and I had to find ways to heal myself. I wish and I pray that people find that healing that they need so that they can focus on living their life and being there for their children. I pray that we see truth in everything, and then if something doesn't sound true, we investigate, that we find community in each other, that when we find sisters, like I have with you, Parthenia, Dr. Grant, that we stick together and that we move forward with this movement, this new paradigm that we are building.
Amen. Morgan.
Yes, I would just like to obviously echo what we've been saying in terms of personal accountability, but also empathy. Just because it doesn't, the person who may be, being oppressed or under fire for some reason doesn't look like you, or you don't think that there is any connection there. We're all human beings, and that's the only connection that you need with someone. We are all members of the human race. That's the only thing that matters. Please be accountable to your actions. Please be accountable to your inaction. Please be empathetic and understand that everyone is your brother and sister. And if we're going to take, if we're going to shift the path that we're currently on so that we can end up in a better place, that's what it starts with that personal accountability and with empathy. And I call my generation to lead this charge, because there's so many of us, and we have to take charge of this new direction if we're going to ensure that the future is much, much better than the past and the present.
Okay, and I want to say, please stand behind people like Savannah, those of us that I bring on this show who find the courage to speak for the people who don't have a voice and to offer positive solutions to people who are caught up in fear that is being deliberately presented to us by the people that are in power and much of the mainstream media. I want to close with saying, stay centered, find, peace in your heart, and connect with God however you see God. Savannah Hartman, bless you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Brenda Banda, thank you. And Morgan, bless all of you. And we will see you back here next week on Divine Love Talk on CRN. And I thank CRN for this platform for free speech.